Welcome to Alpha Wolf Impact. I'm Tim Weintraut. I want to thank you for stopping by. The strategy here is simple. I'm looking for people and companies that can have a positive impact on humanity, like today's Kopin with Michael Murray as CEO. I'll let him tell you more about them in just a moment. Entertainment, my opinions, not financial advice. I may own these stocks and can buy and sell at any time. This isn't a paid-for promotion. If I've done consulting, it's separate from this interview. Full disclosure are linked below the video. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Capital coming at you with a follow-up with my good friend Michael Murray from Kopin. KOPN is the symbol. We haven't had Michael on in a while, and a lot has happened since last time we were here. How's the balance sheet doing, Michael?
Hey, Tim, thanks for having us back. And yes, we've been very busy. So apologies for not coming back earlier. So we have not reported Q4 earnings yet, so I'm going to be a little bit hand wavy.
Right.
Just walk you through some facts. And so in Q3, which we reported, we had 27 million in cash. We did a $15 million strategic investment with our good friends at Theon International out of Greece. And we also executed a $41 million PIPE with Ondas, Unusual Machines, and Theon, and a number of strategic investors that are long holders for us. So if you add all that up, roughly speaking, we'll have between 65 to 70 million of cash on the balance sheet currently. And as you know, we also bonded the longstanding litigation out of Colorado, and that shows up as reserve cash on the balance sheet of 23 million. So very good cash position for the company. We worked really hard this past year in 2025 with our strategic investors and certainly our longstanding investors and long holders. So very good cash position walking into 2026.
Okay. Last time we spoke, you had been awarded a $15 million contract with the Army.
Yeah.
How is that progressing?
Fantastic. So for those that aren't familiar, Kopin was awarded a $15.4 million contract from what's called the Industrial Base Analysis and Sustainment Act under the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. Now, what that means is it's very different than the CHIPS Act, and a lot of investors don't understand this. CHIPS Act is for companies to pull back manufacturing from Asia, as an example. What IBAS, Industrial Base Analysis and Sustainment Act under Pete Hegseth, what that is for is technologies that our adversaries currently have in production, but the United States does not have that capability internal within the United States. That money is available to companies like Kopin to develop technology that normally a commercial company would not develop here in the United States. That's critical. The reason why that's critical is Kopin wouldn't develop a fully integrated micro-LED line here in the United States for the Army specifically. There's just not enough volume, and the specification is so difficult, so specific to Soldier-Borne Mission Command and other Army requirements that that component can't be sold anywhere else. So the economics of building that technology here in the United States wouldn't make sense to most companies, including Kopin. Therefore, we're working with the Army to develop this micro LED for them, with them, and to the spec that they require for things like the Soldier-Borne Mission Command program, which would start up for us in 2027 and move on from 27 into production in 28 and beyond. That technology is now being developed by Kopin. Kopin is the only United States company that have ever built a production micro LED, which is currently flying in an aircraft today. So there was another company, Tim, that was awarded a similar contract in the West Coast. They have not come out publicly that they've been awarded that technology, so we're not stating who they are. They are formidable. It will be a two-horse race to support whoever wins the full Soldier-Borne Mission Command contract. As you know, Rivet Palantir is one of the candidates. This tiny little company out of the West Coast, Long Beach, called Anduril, who is doing very well in the industry these days, is number two. And there is potentially a third company that is also in discussions to support this very strategic project for the United States Army. So We're very proud to be part of it, and the development so far is going well. And we'll actually have individual LEDs in-house in February that we'll be able to test that are color-based, and we're on track. Even though there was a government shutdown and some other things that delayed us getting paid and milestone recognition, we're well on track on the technology.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So when you say there's a two-horse race,
Yep.
so you're obviously not working together. You've been given a task and you have to see who comes out on top of whatever that task is.
Yeah, exactly right. And that task is create the color micro LED to the Army specification and build it here in the United States. And that's critical for us, is we need this capability in the United States. Very similar to some of the companies that we share in common, like LightPath and Ondas and UMAC. The point here is we need this capability in the United States, not necessarily in pieces there and around of different countries, specifically in China. We cannot support that any longer. And we need this capability within the continental United States. And that's what Kopin is doing. Building this next generation micro LED here is very difficult. It's very expensive. But that capability for us to see our adversaries before they see us is critical. It saves lives. And
Right.
that's why this is so important, not only to Kopin, but the men and women of our armed forces and our allies.
I mean, just to bring this up, because I'm thinking optics, but I'm thinking about the Maduro thing, right? I'm assuming they had some pretty good optics at 2 o'clock in the morning picking him up.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of people ask me, was Kopin equipment involved in the latest, things and activities worldwide? And of course, the answer is yes. We have a tremendous foothold in heads-up displays for aircraft, rotary wing aircraft as well. We have some exciting news coming with that with our friends in Europe, actually, in the next quarter or two, and certainly our thermal weapon sight programs and night vision programs. They all serve that same group of folks. So very proud of that, and we continue to innovate in those areas.
The FCC, let's talk about that for a second. Does that have any impact on or bearing on you at all?
It absolutely does. So previously, we hadn't really entered the first-person viewer market for drones. That was heavily dominated by Chinese OLED, some Korean OLED displays and optics, just simply because of the cost. But with the FCC and the U.S. Department of Defense dictating that even first-person viewer goggles that ship into the United States Department of Defense and even some consumer prosumer applications cannot have Chinese displays or Chinese optics or Chinese materials, period, full stop. That's created an opportunity for Kopin, even in our LCD product line, actually. A lot of companies want to actually use our LCDs, not OLED, because it's bright enough and robust enough, and it's less expensive than OLED. We're actually seeing some good design activity with first-person viewers. And our good friends over at UMAC and Ondas, that was one of the strategic reasons why they invested in us. They knew this edict was coming, right? And even Theon, which also owns a drone manufacturing company in Europe, also saw this coming. So we now have multiple designs that we're working on for first-person viewers. And we also have our DAVAS strategy, which adds the capability of viewing drone technology from JTAC, which is just a monocle that you flip down, which we were demonstrating at SHOT Show this week, past week. And we also have Darkwave that shows first-person viewer drone material through a night vision goggle, which you could never do before, in color, which we just received a significant R&D award for, which we'll talk about further, I'm sure.
Okay. Um, where did Theon? They just gave you $1 million order, right?
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So our friends over at Theon are doing very well. Tim, they just received a $1 billion, I think it was US dollar award from NATO to develop and ship many hundreds of thousands of their version of night vision goggles to NATO. Now, what we're doing with Darkwave is we're adapting it to clip onto their night vision goggle. And what it provides is firstly color. Secondly, color telemetry, meaning turn right, don't go right, or go left. And then it also has the ability to add a thermal channel to it. So then you can see thermals into quote unquote a standard off the shelf green night vision goggle tube. So there's opportunities there for us to sell alongside Theon. So as an example, for every 4 night vision goggles or something like that, we would likely sell one dark wave module to those customers. We're not sure what the attach rate is going to be just yet, but with that level of volume and the capability that dark wave provides, that color telemetry and thermal channel potentially is huge, especially for the cost price point that we're providing. So it's tremendous value for Theon and their customer base. And we're now embarking upon that research and development to put the mechanicals in place so that we can clip onto their night vision goggle. And that will be a burger and fries type of approach of sales and go-to-market strategy.
I mean, I know we're talking a lot of defense stuff, but how do you intend to try and balance the defense with the commercial? Or do you
Yeah.
try? I mean, are you?
So let's talk about a few things that we've been working on that may not be obvious to the average investor. Neural display has been chugging along in the background here. We've been developing the technology. We've been demonstrating the technology to many commercial and consumer companies that are very interested in it. It does have to be a micro LED, which obviously that we're producing and building here, just simply because of the brightness and contrast that a micro LED provides. So it's chugging along. We've got some new interest from folks that want to really think about how to reduce size, weight, and power consumption in consumer headsets and spatial computing devices. And it's the only thing that actually works. It works. It works today. So we're getting a lot of demand pull. I'll be heading to Korea to work with some supply chain folks to see if there's a good way of monetizing that. Because the volumes that we're discussing, obviously, we can't produce here in Westboro. So getting a lot more bullish signal on that. So that's number one. Number two, all along we've been working on an automotive qualified microdisplay for a armored vehicle program that was canceled. That armored vehicle program is called the SEP V4 with General Dynamics and the Abrams tank program. We've still continued developing those thermal weapon sights for them in an automotive classified. And that program is coming to completion. So to say it differently, Tim, we'll have an automotive qualified display as well as an automotive qualified thermal weapon sight for the Abrams tank program if they choose to select it. And right now I can say that we have not been chosen. We are in discussion, but the thermal weapon sights and weapon sights are complete. And they did pass our recent testing internal, which is great news, and they are automotive qualified now. So that's been a multi-year program that we've been working on. So at that point in time, perhaps we offer an automotive qualified display to the market. And thirdly, and somewhat uniquely, in the background, with our micro LED technology development, we've been working on some very interesting ways to transmit data, not an image, but data from one micro LED to another micro LED over the air at a terabit level of data processing. Now, what that means is you can actually have a graphics processor and another graphics processor talking to each other over the air over just using light. And so we've been working on that. It's called Project Shasta. Not ready for prime time yet. We're just letting our investors and folks know that that's something that we're capable of. And obviously that falls in line with our micro LED development and production line here in the United States. And we're very unique in the fact that we'll be one of the only companies in the United States with the ability to produce this internally within Kopin. So micro LEDs are not just displays. They can also transmit data at a very high rate per pixel. And that's something that we're considering providing to the market, but we're just not there yet. So lots going on. And then lastly, our friends over at HMDmd, I think they've made tremendous progress in 2025. My understanding is that they're very close to announcing another tier one OEM award. I don't think they're there just yet, but I think they're close. And that would mark the second OEM that they sign up. So I'm very bullish on their story and our ability to support CR3 for more medical.
Give everybody a background on what that is exactly.
Sure. So CR3 is a headset for surgeons that basically takes away the monitor that you see behind me. Many of the surgeries that go on, they're assisted. We don't do any of the camera work. That's like Intuitive Surgical or GE. But the image that they get from these cameras, these handheld or physical cameras over the patient, they take that information and put it up onto a display where the surgeon will look up multiple times in an 8, 10, 12-hour surgery, multiple times looking up at the monitor. What we've created is a CR3 headset, which actually sits above the eye line and nose line of the surgeon. So the surgeon can actually look at you, the patient, and then just with their eyes, look up and down from the patient into the 3D box and get that 3D image to their eye without moving their head. Because Tim, what we solve is the same problem when you drive a car and you check your blind spot. No matter how much I want to not move my hands, your hands follow your head.
Yep.
Your head follows your eyes. So stop moving your eyes, stop moving your head, and your hands won't move. So if I'm having brain surgery or heart surgery, I want that surgeon to be using a CR3 headset and not to move their eyes from me, the patient, and that's what we solved. Kopin developed and designed and manufactures the entire headset internally, and it's a fantastic product for us. The adoption rate has been slow. As you can imagine, surgeons don't necessarily want to do things the new way. So it's been a bit longer of a gestation period, but we're getting there now. And as I've heard, my understanding is we've now accomplished over 200 surgeries successfully using the CR3 headset. So signing up a second OEM would be a great milestone if HMDMD were to do so.
Well, according to Elon Musk, we're not going to have to worry about that anyway because they're going to have a bunch of robots that are going to be operating on us in about 5 years or so.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I thought we were going to have, flying cars a decade ago. I thought we were going to have self-driving vehicles a
Well,
decade.
you just said something to me that the first thing I started thinking about was, yeah, you're talking about transferring data from a microdisplay to a microdisplay, right? And very efficient and a good amount of data. And then I started thinking immediately of androids and their ability to communicate to one another through microdisplays, right?
Yep.
I mean, that could be massive.
No, it really could be. Well, think of it this way. H200 chips or GPUs crank through terabits of data. But to communicate to each other, they still follow either through a SerDes to a copper line to a SerDes, which is gigabits of data per line, which I'm sure would run red hot if you run them at that speed for that long. So you have a tremendous power consumption problem at that point. I don't know about you, but I've heard that GPUs and data centers have a bit of
A little bit.
power problem, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to cool them and you have to power them, and it creates a lot of energy waste. But it's the transfer of data that's the problem. It's the bandwidth between a GPU and a GPU that's the issue. So now companies like, I think there's many companies that just raised over billions of dollars to do that optically, but using fiber optics. Well, if you've got a fiber optic line, what's the difference if you take that line away and just do it optically between two centers? And to do that optically, maybe there's a better way. And so we're toying around with a few ideas. Again, not available for prime time.
Right.
The ability of a micro LED to transmit data or bits as opposed to an image is not necessarily all that unique, but the way we do it and our ability to do it at the frequency that we can do it for the power consumption is very novel because we've been doing it for a long time. And companies that are trying to build micro LEDs aren't companies like ours that know how to build a micro LED. They're optics companies. We are a semiconductor company that builds micro LEDs. Getting the optics to work is a different story. So, but more importantly, Tim, we're going to be building micro LEDs here in the United States, we have control over those designs. And because we have control over the silicon itself, we'll be able to make sure we're able to best micro LEDs for whatever application, whether it be defense, consumer, automotive, or GPU or CPU communications transceivers. We'll be able to supply that to our customers or our partners. And maybe it's a better way for us to monetize that asset and technology to partner with a company that's already in that space. So you might see something like that from us in the next few quarters or year as the technology matures. But having that production line here in the United States that we control for micro LEDs is a critical use case for us in those applications, and we're very unique because of it. So it's a big barrier to entry for other competitors as well.
When do you think you start to see? Um, I mean, how focused are you on trying to get to cash flow positive?
Very focused. If you look at the last few years in terms of our OpEx, we have digitally reduced our OpEx. Year over year, it's been coming down in big chunks. Now, I'm getting to a place, Tim, where my OpEx spend can't keep being
Going the
reduced.
other way, right?
Right, we're hitting diminished returns. Our SG&A, we've been holding very firm, with the exception of legal expenses in 23 and 24. But that's now normalized and rationalized. Our SG&A will creep up a little bit because I'm hiring some top talent in engineering, but not by a lot. So now it becomes utilization rate, and Copa needs to overcome the expense of our three fabs. And to do that, we need utilization and we need throughput. And I think that's going to take care of itself once we start pushing through more micro LEDs, OLED, which now we've got a number of OLED projects that are going to production. It's already been announced that we've won multiple OLED technologies in aircraft, as well as thermal weapon sights and in dark wave. So our 960p will be going into production in a very significant way. So that will overcome the absorption rate that we have in our fabs. That's what we have to overcome. Now it's about revenue. We've cut what we can cut. We're automating so that our OpEx stays low and we can increase our throughput. Now it's all about getting orders. That's what's going to feed our ability to be profitable. Roughly speaking, our calculus is around 15.5 million to 16 million per quarter. That gets us to break even. And I think we'll approach that this year. I don't know if we'll get there. Hopefully there's no government shutdowns or anything that's going to delay our progress here, but that's the goal.
Okay, all right. Um, have I missed something? Have I missed anything here?
No, I think the only other thing I would say to folks is that this year is going to be a growth year for Kopin year over year. We haven't announced Q4 yet, but we will grow year over year again, as long as there's no crazy government shutdowns, which perturb our business in two ways. One, we don't get orders, and two, we can't recognize revenue because the milestones that need to be accepted by the government are accepted because there's no one there to accept them. So that becomes a day-for-day push for us, as well as other
Right.
companies. But I think that the main point, Tim, that I wanted to make to your audience is Kopin is focused on partnering with the best in class companies in the world. Theon is the market when it comes to NATO, period, full stop. It's Elbit and Theon. That's it, in reality, for
Right.
what we value. Here in the United States, Ondas and Unusual Machines, and the drone capability that they have, best in class, right? And we're partnering with Eric and Alan, great folks. They're now strategic investors in Kopin, and we're working together to bring this technology to the United States, for the United States, and for our men and women of the armed forces and our allies. And that's a critical thing that I am
It's
very.
not just is that a critical thing, but I got to tell you, man, seeing that just absolutely. I mean, and Sam, you talked about Sam from Light Path. Seeing all these guys come together to me is such an awesome thing because I actually feel that I do feel as though that could spread maybe across the freaking nation and we start trying to come together more as opposed to trying to create more of a divide.
Absolutely. Like, let's talk about Sam at Lightpath for a moment. Because of Sam, we were looking on the outside in on the next generation short range interceptor program. And thanks to Sam, he worked with us to help us get a position on that program. And now, Lightpath is the image capture and sensor capture, and Kopin is the image provider and distributor to your eye of that image for the next generation short range interceptor program with Lockheed. That's public knowledge. But when you think about this for a second, Sam has done a wonderful job of anticipating the market when he saw that germanium and rare earths were going to be controlled by China and other countries and bad actors. He got out of there, right? When
Yep.
I joined Kopin, the first thing I did, I got out of China. And I remember talking to Sam, we both got shellacked,
Yep.
by investors. I'm
Yep.
like, what are you doing? But then you think about working with Alan at UMAC, and then Eric at Ondas, and Christian over at Theon, and Sam, this grouping of leaders, of which I'm humbled and privileged to be part of, are all thinking down the same way of how can we work together to solve these problems that, quite frankly, other administrations and leaders have created for us. Find whatever spilled milk, but how do we get it better? And how do we work together to solve these big problems? And honestly, have you ever seen anything like that?
No.
Ever? I mean,
No.
to
No
me,
way.
it's a real big thing. And I don't think, folks like Alan and Eric and Sam get the credit that they deserve for doing what I think is right. And that is pooling our resources, focusing with great companies to solve these problems and work together. It's very, very rare, especially in defense.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to show your stuff, right? But the whole point here is the only way we're going to do it better than China and faster than China is if we do it together. That's it.
Yep.
We have to do it together.
I
And
mean, look, that's like as I've said many times, I have always been a buy American kind of guy. I mean, I've always bought American cars. I've bought American motorcycles. I've bought everything. I try to buy American, and then it got harder and harder to do as time went on because we have everything made overseas, right? But why did you buy American back then? You bought it because number one, you knew that it probably was keeping one of your neighbors employed,
right,
and number two, it was usually better, better quality, right?
right.
I mean, it was made in America was at one time a really proud thing, and that has gone away for a long time. And I look at what's happening now with you guys in the drone industry, and I just say, or the defense industry, and I think it's just such a powerful unifying thing, right? And you are potentially competitors, but you're pulling
Yep.
together, bringing your strengths, and making one solid team, right? I can tell you this: don't ever underestimate the American ingenuity and the
Absolutely.
drive to become the best, right?
Absolutely.
And I think we're seeing on a micro scale, because not everybody watches what's happening in this industry, but I think what's happening in this industry is such a positive thing. And if we could get more people to look, there are always going to be those things that we cannot agree upon, right? I mean,
Sure.
there's just certain things we can't agree upon, but there are a whole bunch of things that we can agree upon. And let's work on those things. Let's make the world better just a little bit on some of those things instead of focusing on all this negative stuff, right?
No, that's exactly right. And we're going to compete. Look, we have to be competitive worldwide, globally. Better said, I think, we have to continue to compete. And one of the things that I did when I joined Kopin was I wanted to see us have the best in class quality, because made in America should be the best in class quality and innovative. So, Kopin always had the innovation side.
Well,
I think the
no doubt
manufacturing,
about
yeah, yeah.
that.
We've got technology in the back room here. The more I think and learn about it, it just astonishes me, Tim, that we have all this technology. Just never really did much with it, or went to market properly with it. But we were focused on other things, and that was then. This is now, and so be it. So I think our focus is there. I think this team is operating at a much higher level. Our quality rates are now sustainable at 95 to 97%. We have a group of CEOs and companies that are working together that are best in the class. Period. Full stop. Drones, thermal weapon sights, night vision goggles, and some other ancillary technologies that are out there that are super fun. And we're working towards those things. But having said that, our business needs to operate much more efficiently, and we're investing in automation so that we can build here in the United States and compete and be profitable. Because the issue we all have here is that China doesn't care about automation. They don't care about profit. They don't care about investment. They print money to support their own defense companies. And one of the things that's interesting, Tim, is 3 years ago when I joined this company, China was investing $700 million in OLED developments
Wow.
every half year.
Wow.
They were investing billions of dollars in OLED, and then they stopped. And everyone went, I guess it's because Apple wasn't moving or the metaverse wasn't going. Actually, that's not true. They pivoted towards micro LEDs. Why? Brightness is better, contrast is better for the same amount of power consumption. And then they started investing in optical systems to capture imaging, right? Competing against light path as an example, and sucking up all the germanium and not selling any germanium or gallium as nitride as an example. Why? Because they're hoarding that for themselves for their own military applications.
Right.
But it's not just China. They start to feed Iran, they feed North Korea, and they feed Russia. So in Ukraine, we see these technologies now showing up, and that's bad news for us.
Right.
But we have to do a better job of being competitive, innovative, and profitable while competing against China on the open market. And to me, in New England, the only way you can do that is adding automation, being very innovative in the technologies that you develop, and being better from a technology point of view to give the advantage back to our companies, whether they be consumer, industrial, medical, or military. It doesn't matter what market it is. We have to be more innovative. And I think this administration understands that. I think the investments that they're making in IBAS specifically with Kopin, I think will help us be more innovative and produce here in the United States. And we have to do it efficiently. So that's why we've been investing in automation, and we continue to improve our capability here. And now we have the cash and the focus to do so.
Right. No need to raise capital anytime soon. Right?
Nope.
You're in very good space right now. What do you foresee as potential catalysts in the next 6 months?
For us or the
For
market?
you
Yeah. So
specifically.
we've been working really hard on Europe. I know geopolitically, there's concerns there, but Europe is still going to be an ally of the United States. We will still trade with them. And my goal is to create a multi-million dollar, tens of millions of dollars of revenue in Europe, where currently we literally have de minimis revenue. And we're about to hopefully close on several, probably three new opportunities, multi-million dollar opportunities in Europe, which I hope to announce, this year, which will drive our revenue in 2027 in the tens of millions of dollar range, which is really that was my goal. I stated it multiple times, and we're really close to announcing those orders. And we're in final negotiations with three different companies for new technologies for European defense companies that are additive to what we do here in the United States. So very proud of that. But we're not there yet. We have to close those deals. So that's one. Number two, we continue to grow and focus on our opportunity pipeline here in the United States. I think there's new projects that we need to close on. And I think the big catalyst for us will actually be providing the first view of samples of our color microLED. That'll happen late this year with the Army directly.
Is there a specific timeline on when you have to have something to them, or is that
There is. Yeah, there is. We're not being overly communicative about it because we do have a competitor about what our timeline is, but I'm confident in it that we'll be able to intercept the Soldier Borne Mission Command by the time it goes to production. That's the goal, number one. Number two, I think we're well on track to hit our internal timelines because our internal timeline is a little bit more aggressive than what the Army is looking for. So that's how we're moving forward. But so far, so good. We've been out in the market. We're buying materials, we're buying systems, we're buying tooling as we speak, and we're building micro LEDs. So
Looking
yeah.
back,
So
Michael, you've been there almost 3 years now, or have you passed that 3 year mark?
So I've been here for 3 years. I've been CEO for actually 2.5
Okay.
since Dr. Fan was. We overlapped for about 6 months while I learned how to, ride the bike and take some training wheels off at the time.
As you look back, right? How are you feeling about where you're positioned right now? Is this where you thought you would be, or did you think you'd be further ahead, further
Uh,
behind? What do you think?
uh, it's a great question. I'm very proud of this team. They've done everything I've asked them to do. I think we are ahead of some of the areas I thought we would be. I think customer adoption rate is much better than I thought it was going to be. We had some challenges to overcome about past Kopin activities and focus changes, and we still have some of that. There's still some customers that are like, oh, you guys, you were in defense, then you weren't, then you were metaverse, then you weren't, and we have to overcome some of those long-standing memories, and we are, but you have to do that through performance. The quality issues, I think I'm very proud of where we are currently. I think now it's about sustainability. I think the team is very energized. The new logo, website, branding, focus, energies into the markets is excellent. Our BD organization is doing a great job for us. Our new technology roadmap is fantastic. So I'm very happy with that. I think that the setbacks, obviously, the cash flow into legal activities was not something I foresaw, and definitely took a lot of my attention and my staff's attention away from just growing the business. And that's just noise we didn't need and don't need. But that's now well in hand and understood and reserved for. So now we just keep focused on the business. But I'm very happy with where we are currently and the choices that I made early on. Removing OLED from China, number one. Number two, bring in a new focused board that understood where we were and understood where I wanted to go. My board is super supportive. And look at these people, they're absolutely pros. Our governance now is better than it ever has been. And then certainly our focus on customer satisfaction. When I joined, our customers were not happy with us. And now we've had 3 quarters of perfect, clean customer reports from Lockheed Martin, Collins Aerospace, Leonardo DRS. I can go on and on and on where they're saying you guys are the gem of our product portfolio and supplier base. That's what I want to hear. They will reward us for that. But the thing that I think I didn't realize is how long it takes to win new designs and take that into revenue. That gestation period I knew was long, but when it comes to microdisplays and optics, it takes a while. I really didn't turn on new designs and new customers until about 18 months ago, or 18 months into my tenure. And now those projects are coming into production and low rate production and coming in. So it takes longer than you think it's going to, especially when you're changing a culture, changing an organization, changing leadership team and board all at the same time. And, I look at Sam at LightPath and what he's done in 5 years. And, I think he's done a wonderful job. And I look at what we've done in 3 years, and I look to the next 3 years and I'm excited as hell. I think the market is coming to us. I think the United States government understands what value we bring. Our people are energized and focused. And lastly, and more importantly, we're having a ton of fun. Like I love working here.
Did
So
it?
there's
The 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 lawsuit. Let me ask you, what has that taught you? I mean, how does that influence you in terms of potentially protecting the company from having anything like that happen again?
great question. So I think communication, written communication, having a strong program management organization, which we do now, that documents these things and having those difficult conversations documented and choosing our partners very, very wisely. That's the thing is we have to choose our partners wisely, and we have to understand their positions and their technology base. You always have to take a leap of faith, and some things in the market don't work out. Like take metaverse as an example, or the whole GoldenEye project. We lost $26 million on that project. 26 million, right? How much is Meta lost on metaverse, or Apple lost on the Apple Vision Pro? These are not money-making ventures, right? And there's many vendors and suppliers that have lost their businesses betting on the same things, right?
Right.
And they bet their companies on those things, and that's a very difficult position to be in. I am not going to bet this company on one specific product. I'm not going to bet this company on one specific supplier. And I'm certainly not going to bet this company on one specific customer ever. What we need to do is build great technology that serves multiple markets with great suppliers and customers, and choose them wisely. Not all business, not all suppliers make sense for us. And that is what I've learned. And secondly, making sure that we deal with things immediately when they happen. And if there is going to be a discussion or disagreement, have at it and get it over with and do it quickly. Because these things just fester for a long time, like a decade, and they just burn cash and they're non-value added for anyone. I don't think anyone's going to make any money in these transactions other than the lawyers.
Yeah, the lawyers make a bunch of money, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. So, and being reasonable when it comes to, look, we've had disagreements with our supply chain and our customers where I've said, okay, we're going to agree to disagree, but am I going to launch a lawsuit and spend a bunch of Kopin's investors' money to do what I think we deserve? In fact, I'm going to take maybe less than I deserve, but I'm not going to have the headspace of having to deal with this lawsuit or disagreement for more than I need.
That is so important in itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have disagreements, and, I look at lawsuits like that as a failure of a negotiation in a relationship. And sometimes it happens. It's sometimes unavoidable, but my goal is to avoid those sorts of things and really focus on delivering great technology for the United States Army and our allies, and medical equipment and medical providers.
And gaming, because I think I saw you at a gaming thing once, not long ago too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, our capability and technology lends itself to a lot of different customers, but not every customer is the right customer for Kopin. Not every supplier is the right supplier for Kopin.
Understood.
Because of the risks we take and the technology risk that we have to take. We have to be upfront about that and make sure that people understand those risks. And quite frankly, we need to become profitable. Therefore, some businesses where there is volume and there is opportunity may not be the right business for us because it wouldn't be overly profitable for the company and our strategic plan. And that falls on me to hold us accountable to our strategic plan. And so far we are. We are investing this year. This is a pivotal year for us, Tim, where we're investing in the microLED line. We're investing in some other little technologies to see if those bear fruit.
That was the other question I was going to ask. Do you see any potential opportunities for acquisitions that would be accretive?
Absolutely. And we have a rubric that I use to adjudicate those. We've been very active in the market. We have bid on several acquisitions. Unfortunately, they weren't the right ones for us. But we are looking in certain areas of our vertical stack, meaning what is it that we can sell to the current customers we have that we either buy from someone else or add more value to us owning that technology so we can control it and adapt it. And it has to be earnings and or revenue accretive to Kopin. So a very, very specific grouping of technologies that we're looking at and businesses that we're looking at. And I'm being very picky about how we spend our money. And, from my perspective, building capability for Kopin, true capability that we can deploy to our current customer base is critical. And that's why I'm being so slow and choosy and picky about what we do, because, I only have a few bullets in that gun and I want to shoot them straight. And, but you'll see, I think this year that we're going to add more internal capability, meaning being able to provide more to our current customer base. to who we already sell to, and they're asking us for that. So yes, we are embarking on a list of companies and technologies, and hopefully we're successful this year. But
Now that the stock price, I mean, the lawsuit really has hung over you guys a lot. That impacted the stock price a bit. But now that it's definitely acting much better. Does this give you the opportunity to potentially use your stock as part of the acquisition, use that as currency as opposed to all cash or something like that?
You bet, absolutely. That's a currency that we have at our ability to use. It's within our gift to use. I would use it very carefully, and it has to be the right deal. But absolutely, it's there to use for M&A and other things. So our cash position is great right now. That's the level that I want to keep it at, and we have no ambitions to raise
Yeah,
more.
I just love it when they do stock as part of a major part of the deal. Hopefully more of stock than cash, because then you've
Yep,
got you keep the management team. They're buying in, hopefully, to the long term vision of turning this into a multi-billion-dollar company, right?
absolutely. No, absolutely. And so, like I said before, we're being very specific about what deals we want to put together. My background, I worked in corporate M&A at Analog Devices. We bought Hittite Microwave. I was part of the integration team of that. Fantastic acquisition for Analog. Marnie Seif, who's on our board, she and I bought Hittite Microwave. She was on the board when they bought Maxim and Linear Tech. So having Marnie on the board, that was part of the reason I was thinking about bringing her on as former general counsel at Analog. She's done these deals, right? And
Right.
we're looking for a very specific type of deal right now. We're being very picky. So we might not do something this year, but if I find the right asset at the right time, absolutely, we will use our stock and a little bit of cash to get there.
Patience is a virtue, man.
Yep. Yep.
All right,
Yep.
Michael, look, I know I've taken up way too much of your time. You're a busy, busy man. I appreciate you coming in and doing this. You feel as though there's anything you want, any last words?
No, I think firstly, thank you to you for the time and our investment community for everything that we did in 2025. 2026 is a pivotal year for us, prepping for 27 and 28 with all these new programs coming into production. It's been a long haul, but we're just getting started actually.
With the
And
FCC stuff, I mean, there's
yeah,
a surge, right? There's a surge
yeah, there
that
is.
is coming with drones and the whole smart. I mean, do you foresee that increasing some orders for you in because I mean, it just sounds like there's some big numbers being thrown around, right?
Yeah, there are. So as an example, the U.S. wants to buy 300,000 tethered drones or small form factor drones. To give you a sense, Tim, we think that's going to be about a 1 to 3 kind of ratio for goggles. So for every 300,000 drones, there'll probably be 100,000, maybe 50,000
That makes
goggles, which
sense.
for
Yep.
us would 100,000 displays, right?
Yeah.
Nice orders. But working with Ondas, Unusual Machines, and Theon, they're all in this space. Theon being in Europe, Ondas, Unusual Machines here in the United States. They need US DoD approved supply chains for microdisplays and optics, and Kopin can support that. We're working with those companies to develop that technology. Will we see revenue in 2026? Hard to say. We want to have those designs baked and in hand by Q3 of this year is our goal.
Yeah.
We'll see revenue, maybe some in Q4, but 2027 will absolutely see revenue in first-person viewer drones. But remember, we already have Darkwave and DAVAS, which are going to production with multiple companies, Theon being the first in Europe, and they are first-person viewers where you can take ATAC data through your helmet to your eye using DAVAS and Darkwave if you're wearing a night vision goggle. So we have our day strategy, our Darkwave strategy for night, and we're working first-person viewer goggles with our friends at UMAC, Ondas, and Theon. So we think we're going to grab a lot of that market as a display and optics provider, but we've got a lot of work to do.
Okay, man. We'll go get back to work.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
we'll
again,
talk.
Tim. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in, man. I appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, hold on one second. I'm going to shut this out. Thank you for tuning in for today's interview with Michael Murray from Kopin Corporation. We hope you enjoyed the interview. And if you did, please do us a favor. Give us a like, give us a share, and smash that subscribe button. We appreciate all of those things and you taking the time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Capital wishes you the very best of success.